edition of Deconversion Stories. I'm your host, and my name's Neil, the 604 Atheist. And today I'm chatting with Rene. Also, you know him as Renevelation on Twitter, and I have links to his Twitter down below. I also have links to Rene and Lilith, who's also known as Lilith Liberated's Veritas Voices channel below. We should check it out. I listen to them quite often when I'm at work in the morning, and among other things that I listen to. So I also have other links below in the box. There is now a link to my Discord if you feel like joining up on my Discord. I also have support the podcast type links below, and yeah, that's about it. So anyways, Rene, what I do here is I talk to people about why and how they left religion, and their journeys from that point to becoming the atheist activists that they are today, if they have become one. So why don't you take us on that journey?
Yeah, my journey is probably not the one you usually hear, because I wasn't really that religious to begin with. Like I was sort of a deist or an atheist, like pretty much those two positions would probably describe me best. I did believe in a God, but it wasn't really the Christian God.
Right.
And I also was kind of apathetic towards religion. Like, I did believe in a God, but I didn't really care about God's existence all that much. And that was pretty much the case for me until I became 19 years old, or when I became 19, a little bit after that, I became an atheist. It was, I think, around Christmas or a little bit after Christmas where I became interested in sort of the religion debate. And the way it sort of started for me is I became acquainted, or I saw some atheist YouTube channels like The Amazing Atheist or Jacqueline Glenn, and I watched some of their videos and also some of their videos on religion and the Bible and other holy books. And I found myself agreeing with a lot of what they said. And what then happened is I sort of triggered in a way the YouTube algorithm, and I also sort of, as a recommendation, I got the Atheist Voice or Hammond Matter as a video recommendation, and I began to check him out. And I didn't really know at that point what an atheist was. I did know that there are people who don't believe in God, but I didn't really know the word for it. And then I saw some of his videos, and I also thought that he was making a lot of great points on atheism and the God debate and all of that. And yeah, I just agreed a lot with him. And then one evening, or one night, I should say, I took it upon myself to try to investigate whether there's evidence for God. I scoured the internet. I tried to find reasons to believe in a God. And the next morning, I found myself empty-handed. I didn't find anything. Like, I found sort of a few arguments here and there, but they weren't good arguments or weren't convincing. Like, there was sort of the Kalam argument, but I didn't see how that would end up with a God or other arguments. And then in the morning, I just found that I really had no reason to believe in any God. And I wasn't at that point quite ready to say that I'm an atheist, but a few weeks later, then I just came to the realization, I don't believe this anymore. I don't believe in God anymore. I am an atheist, and that's why I go from there. And then I also checked out a few debates on religion and atheism, and especially the ham versus nye debate. And I joined Twitter sort of with the goal in mind to educate creationists. You can imagine how well that went. And then I, like, one of my first followers was a Godless Mom, and I followed her back, and that was pretty much the way I got introduced into the atheist community and how I got to know other atheists on Twitter.
That's awesome.
So that's
Um,
pretty much my story.
that took like 4 minutes, dude. We still have like 56 minutes to fill.
Yeah.
I mean, let me throw some questions at you. Oh, hi,
Yeah.
V La Bianca is actually in the chat right now. Hi, V. She was excited that you were on the show, so she's good people.
And
I had her on.
I also see my co-host in the
Lilith.
chat, which I found awesome. So shout out to Lilith. I'm glad that you see how your co-host is doing in this interview.
Well, we heard
And
it
I
already,
also
folks.
see Chris and Critical Cripple and a lot of people whom I know from Twitter.
Yeah. Well, they'll all start showing up one at a time. There's also somebody in the chat that I thought was kind of interesting here. Where the heck did it go now? Oh yeah, God hates abortion. Really? Because he that's the name of the person that's in the chat, and I'm thinking really because he gave the formula on how to have an abortion to the Old Testament people. So I don't know if he hates it so much as actually commanded it at some point. So I don't know where you're going with that name.
Like one thing which I had for a long time on my as my pin tweet was, if God really did hate abortion, and if he was so much against it, he would have made sure that abortions are physically impossible for humans to perform.
Yep.
That would have made sure that there are 0 abortions, and the fact that he didn't do that is evidence for one of the things. Either he doesn't find it that pressing an issue, or simply that there's no God.
Yeah, or he's just not that good at design, is he? I mean, anyone who thinks to put where we eat and breathe in the same place is just, what are you thinking? Anyway.
But anyways, you wanted to ask me a few questions.
Indeed. How about your folks, like your family? Do you have any? I think you're an only child, correct?
I am the only child for my parents. I don't have any brothers or sisters.
Okay. But were your folks very religious, or like were they churchgoers?
They were sort of what you would describe as paper Christians. Like
They
did believe in a God, and we did go to church maybe 4 times a year, like for Christmas, for Easter, and maybe 2 other times, but they didn't really religion wasn't really a big topic in my family or in my upbringing. Like they associate with the Christian religion and they did call themselves Christians, but I don't really know that they did believe in Jesus or anything like that. I can imagine that I don't really know about my mom, and I can't ask her, unfortunately, anymore because she died of cancer when I was 14. But my dad right now is right. But my dad at the moment is a deist.
At the moment is a deist. Is that what you categorize him as?
Yeah.
Does he ever talk to you about
he does believe. No, not really. Like we have other topics, and it's nothing. It's not something that he is terribly involved in. It's not something that he is terribly interested in discussing. We like to talk more about football or about university and about our lives and that stuff.
Right. Which
atheism really for me is more of a thing which I advocate on Twitter. I don't really talk about religion in my personal life at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, unless somebody brings it up, of course, right? But but really there isn't that conversation just doesn't come up. Usually I'm putting down idiots that are denying something like global warming or climate change, I should say. That's usually more of the conversations I have these days, it seems. At least here in Canada.
I mean, I wouldn't be shy to tell people that I'm an atheist, but people never ask me, so I don't have the opportunity to be an in-your-face atheist, there's no God, debate me and that stuff.
Just walk around with a t-shirt saying there's no God, fight me, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I have one like that. I actually, it has been known to offend a couple of people. It's that one where save the planet, and it's got the guy throwing out the religious symbols like the Judaism star and the cross and that one. People go, that's not a very nice shirt, and I go, well, I don't really think that well of religion, so there we're even, kind of thing, right? So, yeah. And it happened the other day to this really nice, this nice old couple that walks up and down the street with their little dog. And they always say hello. And we're, hi, how are you? How are you this evening? Blah, blah, blah. And then they saw that shirt and now they don't talk to me anymore. like suddenly I'm a different person now just because I wear the shirt. That's crazy. Well, what do you do? People, I guess, beliefs are held pretty emotionally tight for some people. So I guess they can't separate the two, right?
I just saw in the chat a question from Lilith, which I don't know if it's directed towards me, but I do want to answer it anyway. She asked if I've ever met creationists like him before I am. Yeah, and I would have to say, like in Germany, or at least in where I live, I am not aware of a single person who's a creationist. Like you do sort of see Jehovah's Witnesses on the street and evolution, but it's not something that is really common in Germany. You don't encounter people who openly deny evolution unless they want to be laughed at.
So you find that even the people that I guess, they still believe in evolution because it's demonstrated fact, or like I do think that pretty much all of the people I know accept evolution. I mean, again, this is the issue with not of having other topics with within my group of friends or within university or with people in general. It just doesn't come up very often. But at least I know that none of the people who are in our area are devoutly fundamentalist religion and read the Bible every day. So I do think that they do accept evolution. I don't know for certain, but it's very likely. Okay. Anyway, Mrs. Sassy said to say hello, Renee. She said she wanted me to point that out. But you can see the chat, so
I do also know that I don't think she has an account anymore, but definitely enjoyed talking with her in the past. And
Sassy's good people. I don't know if you would agree with this, but this Paul Willis org, whatever that is, or organization, I guess, it says the default position is there is a God. Atheists need to show evidence we can get. No. We're not making a claim. We just don't believe, buddy. It's anyone who makes a claim that there is a God, because the default position is not that there is a God. The default position is blank slate until you're indoctrinated into a belief system. You're not born a believer. You get indoctrinated into it.
I would definitely agree with that. But as far as the God he's talking about, the question is, what God is he proposing? Because I do think that we can make a case that the Christian God or the Muslim God or those gods definitely do not exist.
Oh yeah, no.
At least as far as I'm concerned, like there's a problem of suffering. There's multiple property disproofs, like God's perfection being in us. There's the problem of divine hiddenness. I think we pretty much have certain proof that the Christian God does not exist. There's the incoherence of the Trinity, even, which Christians obviously do not accept. But yeah.
I see. So apparently this is a person that I have had in my chats before using a different name. Paul Willis Paul Willis organization. You don't know what the universe should be, as you put it. He says it should be like a hot mess or something. You don't know that, right? And neither do we. We just know that we are here and we have what we have, and we have ways to explain it. And none of it needs a deity. All right, so that's what we know. Anyway, let's get back onto the topic at hand here. Growing up and going to school and stuff like that, were you ever like involved with people that were quite religious that tried to persuade you into being more religious at all?
Like I was sort of in a religious class, like in German, where you are taught religion and that stuff. And in, I think, the first half of the 11th grade, we were talking sort of about evidences for God, like the 5 ways of that stuff. And I do think that we were sort of encouraged to accept these. I didn't find them persuasive at all, but yeah, that's pretty much like my religious teachers obviously had a vested interest in not necessarily making me a believer, but keeping me as a believer, like that I stay a believer.
Right, of course. Interesting. So we didn't. Was that like a? Did you have to take that course, or was that like what we call an elective? Like, did you choose to take it?
There are sort of 2 options in Germany. You can either take sort of a religious class where you are introduced to Christianity and that stuff, or you can take an ethics class, which is for Muslims or for Hindus or for deists, atheists. They can take those classes as a replacement, sort of. But at that point, I still was a believer, and I was also sort of a paper Christian, so I did go to the religious class rather than the ethics class.
Really? Wow. So they offer you those. That's kind of a funny choice, don't you think? A little bit, I think. Religious or ethics, because if you ask me, ethics is quite questionable in some religions when you've got deities that are wiping out millions of people at a time, i.e. the Great Flood, which, then it's almost like they offer the 2 because it's almost like the religious studies, there really are no ethics involved or morals, we'll say, right? Like, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
How they offer those 2. That's I find that kind of interesting. So you're currently in college right now, right?
Yeah.
Like university. And what are you taking, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind at all. I study law. I'm in my semester right now.
Wow, excellent. Cool. We need more people like that here. And definitely. I don't know if you've have you heard or seen or read, I should say, Andrew Seidel's book yet? The one that he just released about the founding of the U.S. not being Christian and all that.
I did hear about the book, and I also heard about the whole thing that is going on with Pastor Greg Locke.
Oh yeah, he burned it.
I haven't. But I haven't gotten the book yet, and I haven't read it. It's definitely one that I would consider buying because
it sounds really interesting.
I think important to many Christians.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. A lot of them, for whatever reason, and how do people get these ideas in their head when they're not true? Like, how do they get these facts that aren't facts in their head? That's always blown me away.
Yeah, it's I think just a lot of misinformation out there because it's the same thing with creationists. Like, they are pretty much lied to, and if you have never heard about evolution, and if you only think it, and if you think it's just a monkey turning into a human, then you are definitely going to be misinformed because you don't know the facts. Say these people are hiding the true facts from you and teach you lies.
Yeah. Which is sad but true, really. They want to make up their own storyline as to how everything started here, based on a book.
Yeah.
That, as like I always say, written by dudes that didn't even know where the sun went at night, for crying out loud. So, how do you? It's crazy. Yes, good word. Indoctrination is absolutely what happens. But people have always said indoctrination happens not just in religion. You get indoctrinated into all kinds of belief systems, which is, in a sense, is true. But I'd much rather be indoctrinated into belief systems that we can demonstrate are real. You know what I mean? Like sciences and stuff like that is a form of indoctrination, really, in getting into the sciences. The thing is we don't have an unchanging. Well, not we. I'm a chemist, so I say we all the time because I consider myself somewhat of a scientist. But we don't have a set of. We don't have like doctrines that can't change, like religion.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much the beautiful and great thing about science, is that it's self-correcting. Like,
yes,
if we found like the Precambrian rabbit, then evolution is dead, and that obviously doesn't mean that God exists. I don't think God exists either way, but at that point we would work over and we would say, yeah, we don't know, and we would start anew and we would try to find a new model and we would adapt our beliefs in accordance with the evidence. Religion doesn't do that at all.
That's right. And I like what I think Dragonic Rain said there about another difference that I quite like that he said there. Believers, they value obedience to a power figure over humanitarian values, right? Yeah. Which is very true. Very true. I've actually had a shirt that said that, something along those lines, but it got eaten up by one of the washing machines. So. Got ripped apart. Yeah. Oh, well, that's all right. I'll just buy another one. So, being that you really didn't have much, well, I don't want to say, we'll say zealous religious influence in your life, even through your schooling and stuff like that. When you were taking these courses about religion, were the teachers pretty nonchalant? Like, you know what I mean? Were they not like forceful to say, listen, this is really true, or this is just what we believe? Like, were they more, this is just what we believe and it's for you to decide? Like, did they have that sort of an attitude?
They did sort of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, we did read the Bible and we did get taught some theology. We also got taught like some ethical systems. Like, we also did learn about, for instance, Hinduism. We also learned about Islam, and we learned about Buddhism and that stuff. Like, we also got introduced to other religions, and but it was also a lot of it was also about Bible reading. It was also about what Christians believe and why people believe in Christianity, and it was sort of a mixed bag. Like, you also within your religious classes, you also have to be taught some ethics, but you also have to be taught other religious systems and how religions work. What, for instance, cults are. That is, it's sort of a mixed bag, but also a little bit of Bible reading, a little bit of Jesus stuff, a little bit of everything, pretty much.
Interesting. When you say they were talking about other world religions and stuff like that, what was one of the, like, if you can remember, what was one of the crazier sort of ones that they may have brought up?
Scientology, without a doubt.
Oh, yes, of course. But one of these days, Xenu is going to come down here, and then it's all over, right? Something like that. Xenu, I think that's his name. Yeah. Anyway, well, there's even, I found a book This is back when I was more into more paganistic type things. I considered myself to be a Wiccan and all that stuff, right? I found a crazy ass book just researching the stuff here that I could before the internet. Although the internet came in, well, not so much the internet, but there were local BBSs and stuff that we could use a modem and hook up to. But I found this crazy ass book that I had heard about on a show. I don't know if you're familiar with, called Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. I'm not sure if you remember that or are familiar with it, but
I haven't heard of it.
He was the guy who had a radio show for many, many years, and he had guys on there talking about remote viewing, aliens, psychic powers, that kind of shit, right? And one day, some dude came up and he said, "You got to read out this other Bible type thing, and it's called the Urantia book." And it reminded me a lot of Scientology. Apparently, the name of our planet originally, according to some space people, is Urantia. So, which is kind of a nice name, really, but it's very, very biblical, and it even has Jesus in it. It has I think they're called the Legion of Light. They're light beings. There's all kinds of weird shit in here, man, but it's definitely a fun read. So if you ever have the opportunity and you want to see another just out there belief system, check out the Urantia book. It's definitely hilarious. It's kind of like, I always say it's like sci-fi Star Trek-y type stuff meets religion. It's weird just the way it is, right? Interplanetary and interdimensional and all kinds of weird stuff in it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, the Urantia book is trippy. It was written, I think, in 1920 something by some dude in New York who had this vision. Sounds familiar, huh? Mormonism. Yeah. Some crazy whack job that's out there trying to push some nuttiness out there. Yeah. Have you ever
was also pretty crazy.
What's that?
Like, Mormonism is also pretty crazy. One thing which I do on Twitter when typing, I put the M in Mormonism, like the second time I put that in a bracket so that it can also be understood as Moronism.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, if you guys, just so you can see it, actually, oh no, somebody did spell it correctly. Urantia. It just looks like this, guys. The Urantia book, and it's done the same way as it's even got the little things where you can mark your pages and all that shit. Sorry about that. It's crazy. It's nutty. But I often think that oh geez, Nibiru. Somebody said Nibiru. Why did you say Nibiru? Oh my God, that's Zechariah Sitchin and all that stuff. But anyway, I always thought, like, I don't know about you. Like, I'm sure now you kind of think this way, but I think of religions as just being mythologies, and I have for quite some time, really. Because if you think about the stories that you hear, they have stuff in religious books that have like talking animals, just feats that you wouldn't see human beings being able to do, like walking on water, for example, or like Hercules lifting 10 times his own weight. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we see in mythology. So that's the way I kind of look at all religions. How long do you think it took until you sort of started seeing it that way as well?
Well, I think that's one of the things where this religious class actually helped me, because I also encountered other views, and it was also sort of like a comparative religion class. And when I realized what other crazy beliefs other people can have, which are just really out there, totally nuts, then I realized, yeah, people have crazy beliefs.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
That also kind of helped me. And I did sort of like we did read the Bible also in school, but we didn't really read the completely nutty parts, but the Jesus parts, which we are also quite accustomed to. But like when I read the Bible, and I read the Bible for the first time already as an atheist, I was just amazed what there is in the Bible. I'm glad that you brought up Hercules, because there's in the Bible a sort of parallel, I think, to Hercules. Are you familiar with the story of Samson?
Of course I am. Don't touch my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the guy beat up 1,000 people with I think, donkey jaw or something like that. It's completely crazy. And it's definitely a parallel to Hercules. And I just don't get how people can buy that stuff.
I know. The more you start to learn about the similarities between the Judeo-Christian belief systems and the other mythologies, you start to see where they pinched more from all the other, even pagan beliefs, where they pinched stuff from them to add, which in my mind kind of makes a little bit of sense, because if you already have things that involved with your belief system that people are all sort of already used to believing a little bit, it's easier to convert them over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you steal ideas, then it makes it easier to bring those people over to your side of the table, kind of thing.
Sort of like, well, I did believe in the Hercules guy, but I got it wrong. His name wasn't actually Hercules. He was Samson, and he's in the Bible, and therefore that lends credibility to that crazy book.
Right. Sure. Yeah, exactly. Did Neil catch a cold? Oh, my goodness. Hopswatch, buddy, I tell you, this cold has been clinging on to me I think I'm in week 4 now, and I still have a little nasal symptoms and a little chest symptoms. It's a nasty one. It went away for a little bit, and then it kind of circled back. It was weird. I've never had a flu bug or a cold like this before. It's just bizarre. Yeah. Oh, plus I went out because we got a new bass player in the band, and he debuted. Well, it's not 100% that he's going to be in the band, but we played with him on Friday night, and I was just singing like crazy. So I kind of hoarsed my voice out a little bit. So that's also why it's a little deeper than usual, because I sang like a maniac on Friday. So,
yeah.
But holy shit, I've never played with a bass player as good as this guy. He's the only bass player I've ever had in the band that could keep up with our drummer. It was unbelievable. Too much what? Too much smoking? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm a smoker, and it doesn't help. You are correct. Draconic Rain says, we do have modern gods. We have Goku. Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're modern mythologies if you think about it, really. If you think about the Marvel Universe. I mean, Marvel Universe has fucking Thor in it and Odin, for Christ's sake. I mean, you know, it's awesome. That's comic books are our modern religious books. Man, I had stacks of those things until I ended up giving them all to my buddy who opened up a comic book shop. I just do that. He's like, you know, you could make a lot of money from this. I go, yeah, I know, but you could also too. And you're my friend, and you're starting a store, and I want you to succeed. So take all my fucking comic books. It's that easy. And then I don't have to move them every time I move again. So it's like hoarding boxes of comics, like 15 of the fucking things every time I move. So screw that. They're heavy. But anyway, so you know, you don't really deal with the religious stuff in your day-to-day life, in your IRL life, we call it.
Yeah.
But I often see you come to blows with theists and stuff on Twitter. And I do follow a lot of what you do, like some of the battles that you're having with some of these people. Yeah. And one of the things that has always amazed, these people just refuse, no matter what you can do. No matter, it's like they hand wave every single piece of evidence that we bring to the table that we can demonstrate is real. But they just hand wave it away in favor of their beliefs. Is this like one of the most frustrating things in the world to you, or like it is for me?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that I hope you get better with your cold.
Oh, thanks. It's not so bad. It's just a little bit.
Yeah. Secondly, it's very frustrating because you sort of see it within this dialogue that they have this cognitive dissonance and that they want to hold on to this belief because it's emotional to them, but it's like you're running into a wall pretty much with all of it. Recently, I have had a lot of interactions with a Muslim on Twitter. His name is Sakwit Mir, I think is what it's pronounced, and he always tells me, you can prove Allah wrong, and Allah exists. You take it on faith that Allah does exist, and I've given him 3 to 4 arguments, I think maybe even more, why Allah is pretty much incoherent. Like there are the 99 names of Allah, for instance. You can find them on the internet. If you go through the list and if you compare them, then you will find that they contradict each other. And I have given him examples why they contradict each other. I've given him examples why that is not compatible with that, and all he does pretty much is say that doesn't prove anything, and you can show that Allah doesn't exist, and that's supposed to be proof, and then he just waves it off and ignores it completely.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be even better if he were to offer some kind of counter argument, but he doesn't offer counter arguments. He just refuses to accept.
Yes. Yeah.
Any
Yeah, and I run into that a lot myself, where they just doesn't matter how. Oh, are you kind of froze up on me, Renee? Let's hope you can still hear me. Let's give him a couple of seconds here to kind of come back into. Maybe try jumping out and jumping back in. That because Beach Price has a great question. Oh yeah, okay, we're going to do it here. That I'm sort of holding on to here to show you. Yeah, it looks like Renee doesn't have the best internet connection.
Imposing it on others and trying to convert us. They are not interested in investigation. They're interested in evangelism.
Right.
At least from my experience.
All right, you kind of froze up and then disappeared on us, Renee. And then when we got the little signal there, so maybe sort of backtrack a little bit, a couple of minutes, and sort of say what you were saying again about, because we totally lost you. So
so I think in the last few weeks even I am with a sort of with a Muslim. His name is Sakwit Mir, and he follows me, and he always says that I have faith that Allah doesn't exist, and atheism is blind faith, and that stuff. And what I did with him is I compared the list of Allah. You can find the list on the internet. You can see all the names of Allah, and that's pretty much a definition of 99 attributes. And I showed him with numerous examples that the God he believes in is contradictory. And what he does is he doesn't really offer counter arguments at all. He just hand waves and says that doesn't prove anything, and he doesn't give a logical argument why these are compatible and why they are not incompatible, as I pointed out. And he hand waves and just ignores my points completely and keeps on believing. One thing which he recently told me as well was under one of my tweets that science and the Quran don't contradict because the Quran is the word of God, and if they contradict or if they seem to contradict, then you have gotten one or the other wrong. That's pretty much akin to the statement of faith from Antis in Genesis, I think.
Yeah, and of course, it's never the religion that gets it wrong. You know what I mean? It's never God gets it wrong. Beach Price had a great question that I wanted to share with you, and I'll pop it up here. I should actually start doing this more, but what drew you to take on American YEC crowd? I mean, it wasn't something you grew up with, so you'd have to learn about it, like all the nonsense. So, what do you think about that?
It's something that I haven't encountered before. Like the first time I heard of creationism was in school. Pretty much everyone accepted evolution, and then I saw, when I became an atheist, I also saw the Ham versus Nye debate, and I thought to myself, well, okay, this Ken Ham, he's spreading a lot of nonsense, he's spreading a lot of misinformation, but you know what, I'm not a science expert, but I do think I know enough to debunk Ken Ham and to these creationists a bunch of creationists a little bit about evolution, because it's when I point out to them that that Ken Ham is lying to them and that they should investigate this stuff further.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be useful and bring some knowledge to these people, which I thought they would appreciate. That obviously was very naive of me, because creationists don't want to learn at all. And I found that out fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking, I think, a little bit, because you're like, in a sense, I feel bad for these folks because they've been led astray from the reality of the world into this little corner niche of theirs, where everyone pats each other on the back and, oh yeah, it's God this and God that, and God did it and God didn't do that, and God made this and God didn't make that, and or whatever, and it's like their own little echo chamber, and they're stuck there, and no matter who throws a lifeline to them or some information to them to get them out, they just throw it back like, oh no, we're happy. And it's heartbreaking, really, I think.
Yes. And they also sort of got me started pretty much on the anti-theism thing, because what I did realize when engaging with them is that their rejection of evolution and their rejection of pretty much anything, their outright hatred towards me for trying to give them information, was a result of their religious belief.
Yeah, oh yeah, I 100% agree.
I realized at that point that there's a bigger picture going on here. It's not so much about evolution. The reason that they are against evolution, the reason that they won't accept it, is because they have this belief in Christianity on God influences other beliefs. And it's true. Belief in God influences the other beliefs you hold. It influences how you view sexuality, it influences how you view science, it influences how you view humans, it influences how you view animals. And if you have a false belief, then chances are that the other beliefs that you hold are more likely to be false, or are more likely to be less accurate than they should be.
Yeah. Tony, welcome. I saw you kind of came in here. Tony was actually doing exactly what we're talking about. He was talking about fallacy of composition or something on one of the Discord servers, and completely forgot. Tony's usually one of my hardcore followers here on YouTube and Twitter, and he's always here in the chat. But he was arguing for reality once again in the Discord server and lost track of time. And he says, I just need more coffee. I agree, Tony. That's why my second cup that I got from Tim Hortons, I put in this thermos so it would stay hot. Now, normally for these things, unless they're early morning ones, I'm a beer drinker, so I would be all over the beer right now, which is probably what you got going on there, isn't it?
No, I have apple juice right now.
Apple juice?
Like normally I am... Normally, in the evening, especially when I have these hangouts, I usually drink beer, but I didn't get any beer today, so it's apple juice for me.
I don't know. We're going to have to revoke. You see, it's like being Canadian. They associate us with Canadian beer. You're German. We associate you with like good German beer. We're going to have to revoke your German card, Renee. I don't know. You guys are one of the founding members of the beer community, for crying out loud. And you're drinking apple juice. I mean, it's the same color, kind of, but it's just no alcohol. You know what I have? Sorry, I just going to say real quick. My roommate's boss, or one of her coworkers, went to Japan and brought back Coke that was apple flavored, and I tried it, and it's actually first couple of sips you're like, oh, this is weird, and then by the third or fourth sip you're like, actually, this is really fucking good, because the flavor starts to, you get used to the flavor, and it's actually very good. Why are you laughing?
There's a little fun fact which I wanted to bring up about beer. within the Bavarian colony, beer is actually one of the basic foods that you can have in Germany. Like theoretically, one should be able to drink beer at work in Germany because it's one of the basic things. But
Yeah, I agree.
Fortunately, that doesn't work anymore.
That's the Bavarian purity law I think you're thinking about, right? 1816 or something they had that? Or 1817?
I think it was actually in the 1600s. I don't know the exact date, but
maybe I got it backwards, 1618 or something, but it's the Bavarian purity law, I think they called it, something like that.
Yeah.
See, I know all about beer.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, especially you Americans down there and your, what do they call that? Your beer, well, mind you, after meeting Aaron Raw and drinking some of the beer that he likes, I've completely changed my mind about American beer. But my dad used to say, American beer is like making love in a canoe. It's fucking close to water. So, but I've had beer down there. I've had beer down there that's been fantastic, right? But yeah, that was the going thing for a while because we took our brewing examples from you guys, from the Bavarians and all that area that came up with the beer. So, and then I think they did the same thing, obviously, because people came from there to the U.S. as well. But a lot of the beers that they did were really low alcohol and stuff like that, so they weren't the best. But they've gotten much better since. So I'm not ragging on your U.S. or people for your beer. It's okay. There is some really good stuff down there. Craft breweries.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to drink American beer up until that point, but from what I've heard and from what I've experienced, German beer is definitely the best.
Hold on here. I don't know how that happened. I didn't even hit anything and it popped up. Sorry about that. Or I must have hit something to cause that to pop up. My bad. Yeah. No, I'm not knocking American beer. I've had some great American beer, so I'm just teasing you guys. That's just what my dad used to say about it. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. Do you want to maybe, because these are the kind of conversations that we can do in the after party. If you want to just cut it out a little bit early and jump into that in about 10 minutes or so you can give your dad a call. And then I will send you a fresh link in a few minutes. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good. Once again, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your channel and to introduce myself to your viewers and to have this interview to talk a little bit about my life and how I deal with religion in my life and how I get where I am right now.
Yeah, I think I follow what you do on Twitter, and I think the arguments you have are worthwhile for people. If you guys don't follow Renee on Twitter, it's worthwhile to do so. Definitely, I have the link below. And Renee and Lilith put on a great show called Veritas Voices that I feel the channel is very undersubbed. You guys should really check it out and give it a couple of the episodes a listen. They bring up some relevant topics and have a discussion back and forth about it. And I think it's very, very good. I'm often entertained while I'm sitting at work playing with my chemicals. And, you know, one of the guys I work with calls me Walter White. He goes, "When's the meth going to be ready?" Like, we're not making meth here, buddy. I'm making brand new antifreeze. But anyway. Yeah, well, Renee, I think...
Well, I'm certainly glad that you... I'm certainly glad that you enjoy what Lilith and I are putting out, because we did have these conversations also in private in the past, and we were thinking to ourselves, well, if we can have them in private, we might as well also just share them with other people, and that's what we do. But it's also fun, and it's great to have these conversations, and Lilith and I are great friends, so I think that also shows within our videos.
Yeah,
I hope
agree.
it comes across.
It does. It does. I've probably now got about 5 or 6 of them under my belt anyways, or even more than that probably, because I pick and choose stuff that I listen to every day at work. I put it up and I just have it on in the background. right? And usually on Mondays, I do the Truth Wanted, the Talk Heathen, the Atheist Experience. And by the time those three are done, I'm done work. Then the next day I do the Utah Outcasts. I do you guys. I do Godless Engineer, or, and I line stuff up, and I listen to all the ones that I'm interested in listening to. And you guys are always in there. So anyway, Renee, thanks, man, for doing this with me. I've been wanting to have you on for quite some time, and I'm glad you agreed. And your partner in crime there on the Veritas Voices, Lilith, I think needs to come on my show as well, because I bet she's got a great story. And Beej, who was once a believer, Beej, if you ever can muster up the courage to come on my show, I'd love to have you on as well, because I think she was very, very dedicated young Earth creationist. So that would be a good one. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. I know it was a little early this time, because I usually do them on Saturday nights, but in order to better accommodate Renee here, we decided to do it at this time so that he could still carry on with with his day, and then of course I'll be off early for the rest of the day as well. Anyways, you guys, if you want to join my Discord, the link is below. There are also other links that are helpful to people who have recently deconverted, like Recovering from Religion, Secular Therapy, and Clergy Project, which I believe all of those links are available on Recovering from Religion anyways. But anyway, thanks to everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. We're cutting out a little early because we figured what we're talking about now could be talked about in an after party. So we're going to do that in probably about 10 minutes. So Renee has to give a shout out to his pop. So he's going to talk to him for a bit, and then we'll jump into an after party. And we hope if any of you would like to come in and say hello to Renee, because I know that there's quite a few of you that follow him on Twitter and enjoy his bantering back and forth with crazy people. And I say that lightheartedly, because I don't actually think religious people are crazy. They've been led down the wrong path. That's kind of the way I look at it. But anyway, let me know on Twitter.
I would say some of them are, but
well, some of them have taken it to a point.
Most of them are not, but some are.
Yeah, most of them are just they just believe because that's how they grew up. But some of them take it to, like Ken Ham, I think, or Hovind. I think those guys are just nut bars, because they absolutely refuse to change their mind, even in light of evidence. And that, to me, is a little on the whack bar side. But anyway, all right. So we're going to do this in about 10 minutes or so, guys. So if you are interested in jumping in to say hello to Renee for a little bit, let me know, either Twitter or Facebook. If you're not on Twitter, you can reach me on Facebook. I will give you a link and you can join us. So until next time, guys, like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.